like the feelings are very real. Like it's like you lose sleep, might not eat, like lethargy sometimes sinks in. And that's a very dangerous ball of energy to keep going where you're questioning everything.
Rise up, mind shift, new day, new hustle, street lights, bright ideas, courage through the struggle. Focus on the vision, move smart, stay true. From the city to the boardroom, we breaking through, shift gears, new fears, but we thrive in attention. Turn lessons into action, goals into intention. Don't blink, stay up, every player's precision. Welcome to Mind Shift, where ambition meets the mission.
Hey, I'm Mark Josey. I'm CEO and co-founder of The Pioneers and a partner of Social Apex Media.
There's a specific voice that shows up when entrepreneurs are at their lowest point. What was yours telling you every single day?
Yeah, so specifically the voices when times are challenging are a couple things, right? Like I think you have your belief system is, why are you doing this? Like, what is your why, right? And if your why is what you're doing is working towards that why, or advancing the ball, or at least keeping, focused on where you need to go, then it's a little bit easier to keep going. I think I mentioned before, if it were easy, everyone would do it. And, like being an entrepreneur and a founder is not easy. And there's so much tumult that comes with it. There's so much, loneliness, and there's so much on the negative side, right? There's so much loneliness. There's so much isolation. There's so much responsibility that you carry. And that's, kind of the irony, right? Which is just like you're building something with others, or maybe you're a solopreneur, you're building something yourself, which is even more isolating, right? But you're the one that, like, the buck stops with you, right? It's different than being working for somebody else, or working at another company. It's like it just never stops. And so that's the negative part of it, right? Where it's like, and you need that inner voice to tell you, like, this is why we're doing it. So it's always kind of the why, I think. And if you can have the right kind of why, and then also just the rational piece of just somebody going like, well, what did you expect, right? Like, anything that you is worth doing shouldn't be easy. And so I think if your voice just kind of level sets with you to, like, what are you really, what's really the challenge? Can you solve it? Is it that difficult? Do you need others? What are your resources, right? You start tapping into a plan versus, kind of spiraling into being melancholy, or, questioning what you're doing, and stop doing things. Because the worst thing to do is, like, have those inner voices that tell you to stop. And that's on the downside, right? And then conversely, when things are going really well, I think a good thing is to have that same kind of voice to celebrate, because the exact same kind of scenarios and, variables that could make it, um, negative, or the same kind of set of variables, but maybe your actions and results are leading, or, maybe your actions and, initiatives and energy is leading to a different result, or result we're celebrating. You also have to have that inner voice to be like, this is why I'm doing it. Like, great work, be proud of yourself, right? Celebrate your team. Take a moment to celebrate success. I think probably in life in general, I know, obviously speaking for myself, but it's so easy to accomplish something and then move on to the next thing without just kind of celebrating those wins. So maybe have that inner voice as well to tell you, like, great work. This, by the way, this validates your why. This validates our thesis. This is momentum that we can build upon. And I think it's equally important to have those inner voices on the celebratory side too, which I think equally as challenging, and most people may not do. But I won't speak for everybody else. I'll speak for myself. I know that for me is a challenge.
Walk me through what it actually felt like, not the highlight reel version, the real version.
When things are really, really challenging, and when I can reflect on times where, you feel like your back's against the wall, or things aren't going well, and you're really at a low point, like, the voice to me, on the negative side is like, what are you doing? Right? Like, just despair, like, opportunity costs, like, what you personally could be doing. the disappointment of letting other people down, right? Like particularly if it's your team or shareholders or stakeholders or investors or partners. There's always like a bigger group of people, and that kind of amplifies it, so it can kind of spiral a little bit to go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I'm letting these people down. And did I do everything I could do? And it really starts that kind of narrative of like, oh my gosh, um, and it can be a very slippery slope because that feeling picks up momentum. Um, and and the momentum and the energy is not positive, right? So, but you can't let yourself get caught up in that. I mean, the most successful, entrepreneurs and businesses and relationships and anything, right? Like everything has ups and downs. Nothing is perfect, and you're not special in that sense, right? And so that's kind of helpful, but um, I can talk about how you get out of it, but like the feelings are very real. Like it's like you lose sleep, you might not eat, like lethargy sometimes sinks in. And that's a very dangerous ball of energy to keep going where you're questioning everything. And that's the feeling, like a little bit of like that momentum, that, kind of building, that amplifying that moment, or that issue or that result that, you've been at a point where you're not, um, you know, doing what you should be doing as a business or as a person. And if it were easy, everyone would do it. And so, yeah, there are absolutely have been times going like, oh man, like this is challenging. We had to make some sacrifices. I didn't pay myself this month. I'm tapping into my, nest egg to start this company faster or with more velocity or frequency than I thought I would. From from the capital maybe you saved up, or I did to help start a company. You're like, you don't have a 401k maybe when you start, right? You don't have health insurance when you start. There's a lot of different things, right? Like your total target compensation at a company you work for, hopefully a good company, versus like the company you start, like it's not the same, right? There's other benefits, there's other advantages, and all that stuff comes with a cost and planning or whatever. So of course there are times where you're just like, oh man, like, I feel like it might be slightly easier to go back and work for somebody else. But then you realize like what, like that's not why you wanted to start the journey in the first place, right? So if for me it was like that is not my why anymore, you know. My why was to try to go do something that I hadn't done before, and build something that didn't exist before. And it's really interesting to think about that, right? To think about you as a founder or an entrepreneur, that like before you and a group of people, or maybe a solopreneur or whatever, it's like the thing didn't exist before you, right? And like you are the reason or part of the reason that it's there. And that's really challenging, which we've talked about a lot, but it's also really special. And like, that's what you have to tell yourself. Like, do you want to go back to working for somebody? Do you want to go back and drive all the initiatives that like, may not um, check the boxes of who you are, or what you want anymore in your life? Like, no, because what? It's a little bit easier because you can get a guaranteed, paycheck or healthcare or stock options or whatever. Maybe, but I feel like, every time I not feel like, I know because I'm speaking for myself. Every time I thought about that, it's like, yeah, but that's not fulfilling anymore. And like that wouldn't be fair to the company and the teams that, I would be a part of or managing or whatever. That wouldn't be fair to them for me to go over there because something is safe and it's easy, self-proclaimed easy, than being, in startup mode as a founder. It's like, that's not fulfilling. It's not fair to them. Disingenuous. Get back to what you're trying to do. And I think that the things nobody talks about is like, how are you feeling? Like not about like what you're doing, which we kind of talked about earlier, but like, how are you doing? How is your like mental health? How is your or no, basically how's your health and wellness? And that was something for me that talking to, other people around that was super helpful. Like to be, I think you hear a lot about being like vulnerable and transparent. And, I was fortunate to be in a couple of groups where, that's encouraged, and have a couple of people in my, you know, um, network and, circle and friendship that I could be very, vulnerable to and very candid about how I was feeling, how I was doing, how my health and wellness were. And that was really, really helpful, right? To to start thinking about like, okay, dude, maybe you need to exercise, go see some sunlight, go do something for fun, put the MacBook down for a minute. Go walk the dogs, or there's a lot of, I don't want to, prescribe something for, mental health or wellness, but I think for me, those were kind of things where it's like, what are you doing for fun? How are you kind of compartmentalizing, some of the things that are like doing well or, not doing well. And although that kind of defines you as a person, right? Because if you're entrepreneur, co-founder, um, like you are, right? Like the company you started, right? And so tap it into that other side of like, hey, you're a human, life's too short. You have other people in your life that you care about. Like, you got to take care of yourself. It's kind of I think about the, when you hear the, and I'm sure a lot of people don't pay attention, but when you get the airline stuff before you take off, the flight attendants are telling you, kind of all the things that are going on. And one of the things is like, hey, you have to put your mask on before you try to help the person next to you, right? So you got to take care of yourself so you can take care of the other people around you. And that's a good anchor point, right? To go like, hey, if I'm not at my best, if I'm not feeling the best, if I'm not taking care of myself, how is that amplified or influenced to the, the businesses or the people around me? So just having that very candid conversation about my own, health and wellness was really insightful and helpful. Maybe reading a book, right? Going for a walk. I would say every day I try to take, I call it meditation. It's not like, it's not like consistent. It looks like A, B, and C every single day, but just a moment of like self-reflection and appreciation, and like a quiet moment for yourself. I try to do that every day. And I think that helps give you perspective on, um, things not being so, um, like, skewed, a massive delta one way or the other, right? Like a little bit more of like, hey, I'm not overly going crazy about the success, and I'm not overly going crazy about, the opportunities. It's more of like, okay, right? Like, so every day trying to take, being present and finding a quiet moment to just reflect, on yourself and your life and the people around you and why you're here. Don't need an existential crisis. And that's not the goal of that. It's more of like, find some appreciation and gratitude, and be kind to yourself. And then I think the other thing I try to do is, which is really helpful, take a moment to do something that I enjoy for me to, to learn more or be more well-rounded, or, have more fun. The first one happens all the time in terms of like the gratitude and the appreciation and the kind of quiet grounding. The other one I'm working on.
Clarity doesn't come the way people think it does. How did yours actually show up?
Yeah, I think clarity is exactly what you're saying. It's not like the obvious moment. I think clarity comes from understanding why you're doing something, what is your thesis, and finding tiny bite-sized pieces of success to accomplish that goal, right? I think when you get some wins, clarity is kind of a debits and a credit thing sometimes, right? When you when you get some wins, it's easy to feel a little more certain about what we're doing. And when you get a couple of, take a couple of L's, it's like, there's a little bit less clarity. But I think it comes with, it's less like an epiphany, right? Like I think clarity gets confused with like a staccato moment. It's like, no, clarity is reinforced by, the small and or big wins. And if every day you're moving the ball forward, you're getting closer to scoring or getting the first down, we'll use a football analogy. It's like that's clarity, right? And that is at least in the business. And I think for you personally, clarity is like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if you're getting those wins and it's becoming fulfilling, and or you're taking those L's and it's also like good, next, that's okay too. But the clarity comes from like, I'm like, this is what I'm born to do. This is what I want to do. This is fulfilling, challenging or not. Like, this is what I want to do. And I think the clarity comes from the success of people around you, within the organization, and the success of like either accomplishing your goals or executing the initiatives to get to where you need to go, right? Like it's not about a Hail Mary. We'll keep with the football. It's not some, Hail Mary. It's like sometimes just got a couple yards on every single play and a couple of first downs, string those along, and then before you know it, you're on the end zone. The clarity doesn't have to happen after you score. The clarity can happen while you're like advancing the ball. I'm like, hey, we got a good group of people. We're moving the ball forward. We are successful, right? Like we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. The game plan is bigger. A 50,000 foot view up is like, yeah, we're moving right. Like we started here and we're here. Like that is a tangible result. So I think the frame of reference, or a mirror towards the kind of results and the actions and initiatives and the energy you're putting towards things can really give you clarity. Because like if you don't mind doing those things, and that's not even the right phrase, right? Like if you're excited about doing those things, if you're passionate, if you're fulfilled with doing those things, it's like the clarity is there. So I don't think it's an epiphany. I think it's a process. I think it does require you to kind of take a step back and go, hey, like here's what's going on, right? Like this, today, this week, this month, this quarter, etc. So it's kind of helpful to do a little retrospect planning and then also some real time. But yeah, clarity comes from that playbook.
What did you have to let go of to become the person you are today?
What did I have to let go of? I think structure. So I think if I think about how work was for me pre-entrepreneur, um, it was pretty structured. It was like, do good work, um, ensure your team is empowered to do good work. Collectively, your team does a great job, and, work on getting promotion, climb the ladder, kind of rinse and repeat, larger responsibility, but it's very structured, right? It was very, not that it was, very, very linear, but for the most part it was. You have to let go of that to come over in the entrepreneur land, right? There's definitely, linear path to be successful, but there is no if then that's been created and proof of concept for, the X amount of years at the previous company that you work for, right? This is we kind of build our own path, and you have to be prepared to, pivot and change and get, go a slightly different direction and, take a step back. And the person that was, quote, promoting yourself is like you, right? As the CEO and one of the founders, right? Like you're, not in terms of like title or compensation, but in terms of like, growing the company. And so that's something that you had to let go. I think it's like there is no, the safety net is much smaller.
Someone's watching this right now who's exactly where you were at your worst. What do you want them to hear?
It'll be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's like things are hard, they'll get better. It doesn't today or the moment or the thing that's not going well is not defining you as a person. In fact, who you are as a person is exactly the one that's supposed to drive on and get out of this situation or this kind of rut. I think it's okay to take the L and to kind of live in it a little bit and learn from it. But climb out quickly of the valley of excuses, right? It's really easy to be successful and then fall down. And you're kind of here in this little valley of like, oh, I took this, this thing happened, right? Like we took this loss and it was because of this or this or this or this and da 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 da, right? And then like, right, you're not getting time back, you know, you're not moving towards your goal. So climb out of the valley of excuses. Talk to other people that aren't in your in the kind of the sphere of the business that you're doing, right? There's plenty of people out there that have been through exactly what you're going through, and hopefully you have a network that you can tap into, and be real about what's going on. I think that would be a really good piece of advice. People in your network, people that are your shareholders or stakeholders, can't help you if they don't know what's going on. So I think being vulnerable and transparent, both you as in your health and wellness, and then also the company, or the event that's going on. Let them know.
That's it for this episode of MindShift. This series is presented by Startland News, KC's nonprofit newsroom for startups and innovators. Produced by Social Apex Media, a Kansas City marketing and content studio. If this hit for you, share it with another entrepreneur and subscribe for the next video.